There's a kind of power that doesn't announce itself. It operates in silence, observes before it acts, and learns the terrain before making a single move. You've been wielding this power longer than anyone realizes, holding back not out of fear, but out of strategy. You knew things others didn't. You carried truths without broadcasting them, because you understood that visibility can be dangerous when the timing is wrong. So you adapted. You learned to exist in spaces without revealing your full hand, letting others underestimate you while you gathered information, strength, and clarity. But what they didn't see was how close you came to breaking during that phase. The moments where resources felt scarce, support disappeared, and you questioned whether the quiet endurance was worth it. You felt cut off, displaced, like you were surviving on the edges while others moved comfortably at the center. Yet even in that isolation, something inside you refused to collapse. You didn't beg. You didn't expose yourself unnecessarily. You waited. And that waiting wasn't weakness. It was restraint forged under pressure, a silent arsenal no one saw coming. The turning point didn't arrive with fireworks. It came with a subtle shift in leverage, as the environment finally caught up to what you already knew. Those who once dismissed you started losing their footing. The systems they relied on stopped working, momentum stalled, and confidence cracked. Suddenly, the same people who overlooked you were scrambling, trying to regain control, rewrite narratives, and pretend they were still steering the outcome. You saw through it immediately, the panic beneath the charm, the desperation behind the promises, the instability hiding under performative confidence. Some tried to pull you back into old dynamics with emotion, guilt, or false vulnerability. Others attempted distraction, offering illusions of opportunity that went nowhere, hoping you'd second-guess yourself long enough for them to recover their position. But you weren't the same person anymore. The fog had lifted, and what once confused you now felt obvious. There's a specific kind of clarity that arrives after prolonged silence, cold, precise, and unshakable. You stopped romanticizing potential, and believing intentions mattered more than actions. You saw patterns for what they were, not what you hoped they could become. And with that clarity came a hard truth. Not everyone around you was meant to move forward with you. Some were tied to cycles you had outgrown. Others depended on your hesitation to maintain their sense of superiority. The most difficult part wasn't letting go of people. It was letting go of versions of yourself that tolerated less than you deserved. You had to confront how often you dimmed your own drive, suppressed your instincts, or delayed action to keep peace. You had to accept that your ambition had been restrained not by lack of ability, but by misplaced loyalty and emotional confusion. Once that realization settled in, something inside you hardened, not in a bitter way, but in a resolute one. There was frustration, too, a sense that time had been wasted, momentum delayed, and opportunities slipped by while you were being patient, understanding, accommodating. You felt the urge to rush forward, to make up for lost ground, but every time you tried to force it, the energy fell flat. That taught you something critical. Forward movement without alignment is just another trap. So you recalibrated. You stripped away illusions, stopped chasing emotional validation, and stopped investing energy where it wasn't returned with substance. As soon as you did, the uncertainty that once clouded your path began to dissolve. Not everything became clear at once, but enough did. You could finally see where your efforts would matter, and where they wouldn't. Others noticed the shift before you spoke a word. Your presence changed. You weren't seeking approval anymore. You weren't reacting impulsively. You weren't explaining yourself. That unsettled people, especially those who relied on your emotional openness to maintain influence. What they don't understand is that this isn't about revenge or dominance, it's about authorship. You're done being a background character in someone else's storyline. You're done letting external circumstances dictate your pace. The fire that once burned chaotically inside you has been tempered. Slower now, but far more dangerous, controlled, and intentional. There's still work to do. Confidence is rebuilding through consistency, not hype or reassurance. You're learning to trust your decisions again, to act without overthinking every outcome, and to initiate without needing emotional certainty first. That's a different kind of courage, one rooted in self-respect rather than hope. You may still feel moments of doubt, but the difference now is awareness. You catch yourself sooner, pause, and redirect. Each time you do, your authority strengthens. The path ahead isn't glamorous. It's built on discernment, timing, and quiet resolve. While others may underestimate you because you don't announce your moves, that's exactly where your advantage lies. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to rush to be effective. And you don't need validation to know when your moment has arrived. What's unfolding now isn't random. It's the result of everything you endured without recognition, every restraint you exercised, and every truth you held close. The gate you once stood outside of wasn't locked forever. It required patience, composure, and readiness. And now you're stepping through it, not as someone desperate for change, but as someone prepared to handle what comes next. They won't see it coming, and you don't need them to. The real power of restraint isn't in what you hold back. It's in what you unleash when the moment is right. You've spent years mastering the art of observation, learning when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to wait. That discipline has sharpened your instincts to a razor's edge. Now, every decision you make is calculated, every move you execute is intentional, and every word you speak carries weight. The people who once dismissed you are starting to notice, not because you've changed, but because they finally see what was always there. The difference? You no longer care if they do. This is where true confidence is built, not in the applause of others, but in the quiet certainty of knowing you don't need it. You're no longer waiting for permission or validation. You're no longer explaining your choices or justifying your path. You move with purpose, and the world adjusts around you, not because you demand it, but because you command it without saying a word. The final lesson of restraint is this: power isn't proven by how loudly you declare it, but by how effortlessly you wield it. The moment you stop chasing recognition is the moment you earn it. The moment you stop fearing judgment is the moment you transcend it. And the moment you realize you never needed their approval is the moment you become unstoppable. You're not here to convince anyone of your worth. You're here to demonstrate it, through action, through results, through the quiet confidence of someone who knows their value doesn't depend on who sees it. The path ahead is yours to claim, and the only permission you need is the one you give yourself. So take it, own it, and let the rest unfold. So here's the question: are you ready to wield the power of restraint? Then stand firm. Trust the process, and let the silence do the work. Make sure you're subscribed before you head out. See you in the next one.